Okay,
Alright.
so call the meeting to order. Is there any adjustments to our schedule?
Yes. I would like us to add just a conversation about the July 1st hotel exits.
Mhm.
So we'll add that on. There's nobody that's out there with me. So we haven't, for Barre area, approved April 16th
Well, that's right.
or May 21st. Minutes yet.
Did we get the minutes from the 21st?
They were sent out later. Yes, we did.
Dan, wanted to take notes because I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah,
Did I not send out?
you would have not.
You may have, but I'm not recalling it, but I have a lot in my head, so sometimes I don't recall things that happen.
I will get on that and
So-
we'll be perpetually one meeting behind on.
Well, so May 16th we'll put on hold,
Not the
Yeah.
end of the world.
And
and
then,
then
did you get April 16th?
We did, but we just, I think, got it late, so
It was
like,
very late. I was out in the middle of nowhere in British Columbia and I was like,
Oh
I
my
hope this
God,
gets
yeah.
there.
yeah, well, even
Yeah.
like
Oh, no,
distributed
that
among
is-
everyone, like, I think we got,
Let's-
most of us saw it at the meeting, so we didn't, yeah,
so
yeah.
do we want to
I'll move
approve?
to approve
Yeah,
this,
okay.
the 16th.
Okay,
Any second.
Second,
okay, let's do that.
Third.
So our agenda items for today are the sanctioned camping stuff. Humanize the issue around media. And collaborating with Montpelier. What we want to do with that probably is talk about the July first exiting,
Mhm.
I think, with them, so. All right, so let's talk about the sanctioned camping stuff. Has anybody heard any negativity about it?
I'm sorry, I thought we were gonna do the July exit first, or no?
No, we want to
Okay.
do,
Sanctioned camping, yes. As a follow-up to the memo I put together last month, I had a long conversation with my friend, Samantha Sheehan. She's one of the lobbyists for, Vermont League of Cities and Towns, which represents all municipalities. And she had, a kind of a lot of guidance here. And I think the big takeaway is that from all that she's seen and all that she's studied, is that these sanctioned camping sites are successful in scenarios where you have a municipality working very closely with a nonprofit, that these camping sites are organized and regulated, and that there's usually someone on site at all times. That you need services around that, clean water, trash service, etc. And that often if you don't have these pieces together, what happens is the campsite becomes unsafe for some campers, especially maybe like vulnerable adults or, women with children, etc. Kind of as the follow-up from the memo is like, this is complex. It's not as easy as putting up a couple
Right.
camping platforms somewhere. That we would have to kind of check off all these little boxes. So I think we should pursue this still. And I think as a next step, maybe I pick one of these municipalities somewhere else in the country where they have done this. And see if someone wants to zoom in for our next meeting and tell us about their experience,
If it's in Honolulu or something, you'd take a little trip. No.
I don't think we have the budget
No, I
for
figured that.
travel.
We don't have a budget at all.
Yeah.
That could get real expensive.
Yeah. So I'm happy to, for next month, not only bring last month's minutes, but also identify someone who maybe could join us for, 30 minutes or so and tell us about how it works.
That would be
and
That would
where
be
they
good,
live. Yeah, okay.
yep, and then so about humanizing the issue around the media. Anybody?
Who asked for that one? Do you
That
know?
was me.
Oh, okay, yep.
My thought was, and this was after having been in conversation with several people, that it might be easier to sell our sanctioned camping if we could put a more human face on exactly what's going on now. And several months ago, I had tried to connect someone I know who writes for the Times Argus with Mo Shibley.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had some folks who were willing to go ahead and tell their story. So I can, loop back with them and try and see if I can still get that to happen, and just wondering if anybody else had any ideas, if you think this would be fruitful.
The digger seems to be a local,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that
and-
Carly woman.
yeah, enjoys. supporting where they go.
Mhm.
That might be a good.
It is good, and then I think the hard part of sort of trying to get a media presence out there about this issue is that there's always this backlash. It's not necessarily, it's a vocal minority, I get it, but there is always
It's gonna
this
happen.
thing. And, we can't really engage in that, you just have to kind of let it. Sort of for the most part, you kind of let it be, because engaging just keeps the conversation going. But I do think that that's why on this particular issue, I think it can be really tricky, putting folks out there and making sure that they're prepared in a way. I get really concerned about vulnerable folks taking the leap of putting their life out there and
Oh,
not necessarily, everybody makes their own decisions, but like understanding the impact it might have.
Right.
And it makes me a little concerned being in a position of, I won't say power, but in a different position. I'm not in their shoes, being the one asking them if they want to do this, because they might say yes. So I just wanna vocalize that, because that does concern me. Because we don't want the backlash coming at the folks who are putting themselves out
We
there.
had a similar conversation today around how do we, we know, some of us know how to do it, but like, we wanted to write this letter, and there was some concern in our committee about those folks. We were worried that they would be identified, and we wanted to
Yes.
avoid that.
Well, is there a way to do it in the third person? I also thought it would be good to get the word out about the, different organizations that are doing such vital work
Mhm.
around this.
Mhm.
And,
Yes.
you think that would maybe be a better way to go at it?
You wanna check in with them,
Yeah,
our organizations, because a lot of that information would come directly from source of the orgs, like authorizing their use in an article. Just for.
oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Third
I didn't
party
say,
is-
I'm sorry.
either way. Yeah, third party would be like. The stories that I've heard, they're told by a provider, which almost never I have permission to share.
Yeah, and I think reporters would find that a lot less interesting than that
Yes.
first person.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanna
Okay.
talk
They want
to the
that
person.
first.
Exactly, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there are folks who knowingly put themselves out there, and that's okay.
That's
If
different.
they know they're taking, the risk maybe sounds a little bit too much, but like the risk of it, like
Mhm.
putting themselves out there.
Yeah,
We've had people actually put people out there, and they didn't mean to do it, they. And then, oh my God, I never heard the end of it.
Mhm.
Why did they do that? I have no idea, and just no, I wouldn't do it.
We should not be telling other folks' stories unless they are so depersonalized that is no way to tell whether I'm talking about myself, whether I'm talking about Ian,
Yeah.
whatever, like. We should allow folks to tell their own, in their own way and not give our spin on it. That's my 2 cents on it.
yeah. I was thinking of, Tess, I walked in on Wednesday, it was last Wednesday, no, last Thursday. For the luncheon, and you were just wrapping up the morning session, and like the 10 minutes or so I was there, I thought it was really interesting to hear some of the social service providers, kind of explaining what they're already doing, and then actually talking about their own story. I remember there was the one woman who talked about how she went from being a DOC employee to being in the prison within 24 hours. And, so maybe there's folks who aren't currently in a predicament, but I'm thinking of like, Morgan Brown in Montpelier, you guys all know Morgan, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
Very much.
he was, homeless for many years. Now he has this like lovely little apartment with this cat who's like an internet celebrity,
Yeah.
So I feel like there's some success stories maybe where like, so someone's like, there's not a spotlight on one person who's already in a vulnerable,
Yes.
position, right,
Right.
so,
think of it.
So
okay,
maybe
yeah.
more having people talk about what had happened in the past.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
or like, I keep on thinking about like, Jerry Poitras puts together the
Yeah.
Survivor Guide, like maybe
Yeah.
just a short interview with Jerry, like, why do you do this? How did this come
Yeah.
about, like, and that way, not only kind of highlighting good people doing good work, but also like raising awareness at least for that
That's a good
guide
idea.
too, so. And we have the Facebook page up, we just haven't done anything with it, so, if we actually can get some content created.
What Facebook page?
We created it's, I think it's hidden right now, it's not public yet, but it was a Facebook page for the committee, so we can put
Oh,
out some
well,
good news stories.
When you're ready to
Yeah.
unhide.
Let's just ask kind of like the. Look at it before we ever.
Oh,
post
totally,
anything.
yeah. I think it was just kind of, I think maybe, did I share it with you? Okay. I'll see if I can share it with you without making it public or something like that, so, yeah.
So, are we thinking social media then to start, or?
Yeah, I mean, also,
Or
we could write us an
try
article and
get
send it to
bigger.
Digger
Yeah, you're right,
or
it's so
the
beautiful,
TA
but-
and just write and
Yeah.
say, hey, do you wanna run this, it's
Yeah.
free content, right, for
Right.
them, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like anything social media, you're gonna run into a lot of
Oh,
Facebook
yeah.
trolling.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, but if you could
Don't-
see
I never
past
heard of
that, it'd be
troll
fine.
before. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right, throwback, right, a little bit of throwback, yeah.
Secret account.
We have a group out there who's ready to go.
What's the opposite of a troll? I don't know.
Right, I don't know.
Maybe a hobbit of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that, hey, you hobbit, how are you?
Okay, well, Tess, maybe, you and I could have a conversation about that.
Okay, so what are we doing?
We were talking about doing some good news stories out
Right.
there, some
Yeah.
short.
Oh,
good
I want some
pieces.
bad news.
And Beth, I'm happy to help out. If you can like put together the materials kind of like, and then if you wanna feed me stuff, if you don't feel like writing, that's like easy for me. I just haven't had time to like do the interviews and so much better. Okay, I'll take the word for it, so.
Alright, so we're done with that one, right?
I think so.
So let's talk about the July 1st.
Yeah.
Exiting from the motel. So Tess, can you give us updates on what, if you know anything?
You mean in terms of what the state's doing or what
I mean, we know what the state's doing
Yeah.
so far.
Doing.
I mean, that could change.
people are still trying to change their minds?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have a number? Any idea? of, What, 30 people? What are we talking about?
More.
I think it's way more than.
Way more.
I would say we're likely in the 100 to 120 range
That
here.
much? Okay.
That sounds about.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't counted
Statewide
or
or
anything. I
statewide.
haven't gone through the
Okay.
whole list, but I'd say we're likely
Yeah.
in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's off the mark. It's just funny getting numbers from people. We finally just got the pit count stuff but I didn't see anything yet broken down by county or region.
So what
So,
was the pit count?
Something to understand is that if folks were using their 80 days starting April 1st, right? Their 80 days run out in the next week or
Right.
have run out already, right? So
By the 1st of
between now
July, yeah.
and the 1st of July, you have those folks in addition to folks who were impacted by the executive order,
Yeah.
Right.
where they also counting days after April 1st means they've gotten more than their
They've already
80, but
used
on
it.
July 1st, they're up because that's when the executive order expires.
Right.
So
So the
that's a good
soonest,
chunk of folks.
Yeah,
so the soonest they could theoretically use their, that would be in December.
Yes, theoretically.
when the winter starts again.
Starts again, yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna be
Because-
just like last year.
I wish somebody would
Except
get
the
that
first-
interpreted better, but
Except-
apparently that's what led to this, there's an interpretation.
Yes,
And I know there's been some, pushback on that, but I don't know where they're going legally with that, as far as someone stepping up and saying, I think Brenda Siegel is trying to step up and say they want to get interpretation.
There was something that was supposed to happen today.
Yeah.
Frank was saying that, HHAB, that there was a press conference that was going to happen, I believe, today. I didn't watch it, I didn't see it, so I'm not sure, but it was in relation to this issue, to the interpretation of using the 80 days starting the 1st of April. And that legal aid's involved as well, so the reality is the best laid plans that we make or try to talk about this, it is entirely
It's gonna
possible that
change.
something changes
Changes.
between now and July
Yeah.
1. Maybe not completely changes, but it's possible that something else will happen.
So is legal aid preparing another suit? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're doing, and it's pertinent right now, if one of us just Googled it, you might actually see what happened, today at the State House, I don't know. Because my understanding was it was a state, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was like a State House press conference.
But just to give me an idea, I mean, we already pretty much know, but theoretically, that would just have people going to December at this point. So that's a long,
Between now
It's a
and
long-
December.
If they don't count the 80 days from
Yeah.
April on, they would still count whatever days were used between, like, say, July 1 last year and
right, I
December.
know that, yes. But I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but I am looking at worst case scenario.
Yes.
Of this.
And worst case scenario is we have upwards of 100+ people likely, 100+. I would say people, maybe not households, it's hard to know, but,
Right.
And then we already have children exiting with families,
Yeah.
so.
we definitely do. We have folks at Speranza who are having to try to make plans for camping with, like 2 kiddos and 2 adults and, and no identified camping areas,
Oh,
no, all of those things.
Yeah, it's been incredibly tough trying to figure out spaces.
Yeah.
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 I where you were with medically vulnerable people.
Oh.
It's a nightmare.
It is.
We have several that I'm like, I don't know, and there are others that have like the need to have medication refrigerated and
Yeah.
things like that, that it's virtually impossible to do at a campsite.
And what campsites are open around here that will take?
Not many.
Yeah.
Not many. And state parks, one of the things we tried through COVID, and as we were sort of exiting the full-on COVID thing, was to try to get the state to, make exceptions in state parks so that folks could camp for more than 2 weeks at a time, because that's just one of their rules. And or to, use a sliding scale in terms of what it costs folks to camp at a state park. Because they do have bathhouses, because they do have sanitation generally.
Mhm.
And there was no biting on any of that at the time. I don't think anybody's tried that super recently, but it was definitely like a wall when that was brought up.
There's been a lot of shared conversations of folks being able to go to state and federal parks, or if they are on disability, have Medicaid or have food stamps, they have free access.
Oh,
But there's a lot,
for the day part.
but
Oh.
that's the limitation that wasn't
Day part.
available until very recently.
Mhm.
And something that I had pretty actively been letting folks know that they had access, but then it got.
But the reality is, if there are bathhouses, if there are that is a resource to someone potentially, at least to go into. Rest a little, to have,
Showers.
use a shower, use the
Sometimes might even
facilities.
have laundry. I don't know if they still do.
not in my experience on laundry service.
No.
Oh, so I think this is a question for you, but so the campsites that exist right now, I imagine it's a mix of some private landowners who are letting people know. That's not, so is it public lands that, there's, kind of a hands-off approach, so, right?
Well,
Or-
It's at least, I will not name towns.
Yeah,
but,
no, please, yeah, yeah.
In a couple different towns is if we don't see it and there's no problems or anyone has called,
Mhm.
then we're gonna hands off, we're gonna
Yeah,
leave it be.
yeah,
But the second that,
Someone
but that's the second that someone calls
Yeah.
or, it's visible from the
It's
walk
over.
path,
Yep.
it's,
there you go.
we're gonna remove your campsite, you have whatever amount of time that.
Yeah.
Whatever town is limiting.
Yeah.
So why do you think there are no like private landowners, maybe like letting,
So-
is just a liability issue?
What I've run across in a couple different towns, folks have gone to go to family friends or
Mhm.
even family. And then been told by whatever town's officers that there's no camping allowed on their property.
Yeah.
And then that becomes, well, this is my land. I'm letting them camp there. You can't do that because there's no camping in the city, whatever city it may be.
Sure,
And then them having to move along.
right, okay, okay,
And that's multiple areas. That's not just me specifically speaking about.
and that's municipality by municipality, it sounds like, depending on whatever ordinance they have
Whatever.
around campus.
Yeah.
I think you also have things like town lands, like town forest or
Yeah.
town, like, and a lot of the towns in the area have that, but that's gotta be like, don't, just don't make yourself known, because if it is known, then somebody may come out and tell you not to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All campsites or I guess, I mean, I don't know the true definition of encampment, but when I think of encampment, I think of like generally two or more.
Mhm.
Unless it's like one and they have multiple tents and then you've got your own encampment going on. But it's hard this year to mention camping locations to folks. I never suggest it, I never
Sure.
tell
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
But
there's a reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very difficult to say.
Mhm.
Are there fewer options, you think? Yeah.
Because of limitations put on by different towns.
Okay,
And yeah, we'll just say that.
Okay.
Just start everything.
thank you for
Yeah.
your candor.
So,
Yeah, so, I will just say from my perspective with the July 1 thing looming. I'll reiterate, we are not set up to take self-pay at our space. We are solely working with. Economic services
yeah.
with the voucher system that they have. And so folks will have to, there's not like the wiggle room of not, not having a voucher, but being able to stay there. So folks will have to go, including those folks that are medically vulnerable. And that is unfortunately, that's not a, we don't have a heart thing. That's we have to have the rooms available for the, like for the contract we have to have the rooms available. So it's gonna be a challenge on our front, and I think folks, I don't know where folks are gonna go. And they don't, I mean, we're actively trying to engage in conversation. And for the most part, folks don't know, if they said, gee, if I got to Brattleboro, I have an uncle where I could stay on the property or whatever, then sure, we've got something to work towards, right? We can get some bus tickets or see if we can arrange a ride somehow to get them where they need to be. But we're not finding too many folks with solutions, even in that vein, even if they're not in this area.
So what motels right now are doing the hotel program? Speranza,
The
Budget.
budget,
budget,
the Hilltop to some extent, right? It's not as much as before.
I
The Econo,
I don't know, the
well, I mean,
Knoll,
and the Knoll.
And Pierce, huh?
And the Pierre, I don't know if the Pierre is, are they?
I think
Yeah, somebody.
they are.
I remember
Yes,
somebody
okay.
Not
Okay.
too long ago
Yeah.
saying.
And I think Comfort in a very small amount. I heard that the.
Yeah, well,
Really?
Yeah,
yeah,
like when you drive in the half of the building that's like to your right,
Okay,
near the flagpole maybe.
great. I didn't know that.
But like
but it's.
very,
Just a little
very,
bit.
very limited.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's never happened before.
that's new.
Yeah.
Newish.
just
Yeah,
that-
Yeah,
I
like-
think it's been for a while now and it was just under the radar and I just made it very known.
Well, they might wanna go to the Comfort Inn instead of the, no.
But no, I mean, it was out there anyways, but, yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of access.
Now,
We don't know.
You
is it-
talk about, I mean, it's basic, but your contract is about new people coming in, right?
We have folks at Speranza who have been there for a long time,
Right.
like throughout, parts of COVID
Yeah.
and like, because there've been these extensions here
Yeah.
and there, so, so generally moving forward, knowing that we, the way it's looking like the program's going to be this year. And I think that went through. What the program's going to be starting July 1 has already like, we know what that is, which is 80 days.
Yeah.
And or cold weather.
Yeah.
And so we will still have folks who are longer term during cold weather. Or maybe moving into cold weather or coming out of it using their 80 days.
Okay. I mean, I think it was nice that we got the executive order, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking of it in a worst case scenario when I'm talking right now, because I don't really see a serious intervention stopping. So my take of it is, it was nice, but it's like a patch.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Let's be real, it's a patch. And it just, man, you talk about the medical folks, I get. I'm just thinking about that too, and I'm hoping that.
It's
Yeah, I
really
mean-
scary.
I mean, I just. They say, they feel like this has not been working.
Mhm.
I was like, how state talks about this being failed, this has been a failed thing, and it's like, well, you're failing. But, what's I gonna say, but I think that, okay. I think the thing that we need to like really pressure back at the state is, yeah, which, there's been efforts to try to change things. But the tsunami is the lack of housing, the lack of housing for anybody. Just being out of reach for so many people.
Mhm.
And of course, also, natural disasters. But, wouldn't it be nice if we could find lovely apartments for people and,
Well, and vouchers are drying up.
well,
Yeah.
And so like, this is even worse than it was, say, last year, because the off ramp
Yeah,
for this, for someone who's a single income household. Or maybe a single parent, I don't know about you, but finding childcare right now is
Oh,
absolutely
Impossible.
ridiculous and
Yeah.
impossible. So if you, to the folks that might say someone needs to get a job and get themselves out of this themselves, and that's what we hear. The reality is that is not a possibility. You can't work yourself into being able to afford what housing costs now without that off ramp of some type of assistance, and it's completely going away for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, or it's going away by 80%. Those managed properties will still be there with subsidies.
Mhm.
But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary.
so it's like worse
It's
than it
gonna-
was
I think it's
then.
gonna, yeah. I think it's gonna affect a lot of people come July 1st.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just the whole house. people
Right.
And the motels, I mean
Yes,
trickling down effect of all of it.
right. Yeah, it's very
What do
hard.
we do?
Yeah, no, for real, it's going in my head. too.
so I do think, in my mind, the things that we could talk about here, because we're not gonna affect, I mean, we could certainly, we have our opinions about what maybe could happen or should happen, but in my mind, we could talk about here, in what ways could our community be assistive for folks who are exiting,
Mhm.
not just our own individual shops, like what we
Yeah.
do and how we might do it. Because we're gonna do our best. We're doing this work, we're in this committee because we want to do that. But what are other things that could potentially happen? Do we need to step up those drop-off spots for equipment like that we were talking about? Those kinds of things might be good. Could we do a call to action to the community to donate either small amounts of funding or a new small tent or a new, like maybe those kinds of things could be things that we could work on as a committee that could at least be those drops in the bucket that could at least help some folks with some
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
That's the thing, it's interesting, impressing upon you, we started doing breakfast on Mondays.
Mhm.
Because there's not any food available on Sundays, to speak of, unless people come to church coffee hours
Yeah.
and get a little nibble
Yeah.
for the rest, and then between that and the rest of the day. But, and then encouraging other entities to do that so that we can flesh out again a whole day's worth of a good meal and community people to be around and talk with. It's so important. We had our first breakfast Monday morning, so Church of the Good Shepherd is doing Monday morning breakfast now, for, instead of the warming center. So we closed the warming center, we took
Right.
2 weeks hiatus, and then we had, breakfast on Monday, and I was just like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so, I mean, it was just like old home week.
Mhm.
And it was wonderful.
And do you found that the folks who were coming to the warming center came back for breakfast when they knew it opened?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they came
that's
back for
great.
breakfast
That's
and,
great.
and they were really appreciative. They wondered where Keith was, and I told Keith he's gotta come next Monday. But it's,
Mm.
we've created community, and that's how long it takes.
And is this breakfast only on Mondays?
For our church, the breakfast, we're doing a Monday breakfast, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do 8 to 9:30 with a full breakfast.
Can you all just remind me, which hotels do take self-pay?
Any of the other ones. could.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's,
I don't know that they definitely do, but any of the other ones could, and they do already to some extent. Because folks have to pay
Pay
30% of their income
That's right.
towards the hotel stays, so they might have 2 days a month they pay for, they might have a whole much more than that depending on the income.
okay, so that's Hollow, Budget here, Country Inn, Hilltop. Did I miss them?
The no,
no.
Yeah. Economy.
and they are getting paid at the rate that the state is allowed to pay
Right.
them, which is $80. Unless somebody's lower, which I doubt, but that's the rate.
That's the cap, right?
Yeah, that's the cap.
That's
Before that, it was sky's the limit. No, kidding. Not really.
Two things, I'm wondering with the donations for the self-pay, who would that go to, and kind of like, would there be any kind of qualifications on? Obviously, we can't raise enough money to keep
Yeah.
everyone, so we're talking about the most vulnerable, especially people with medical conditions. And what entity would that make that decision?
It's a good question. What happened previously at another inflection point where folks were being exited, which was last, say, September-ish. Is that certain faith groups got together to either work amongst themselves or amongst the community to gather funds, and then they went directly to the hotels
Right.
to negotiate or to
Hmm.
go off of the already negotiated
That
rate.
was a Montpelier.
And to pay for a few folks that were able to stay. We had families with children that were impacted by that, and Faith Community stepped up for a few of those to get them through between middle of September-ish
Yeah.
to December 1st.
Okay.
But that's a lot of money. If you
I'm
think
not-
about $80 a night, 30 nights a month, that's a lot of money.
It's not stable.
It's not sustainable and it's doing more of, and I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm saying it's doing more of that kicking the can down the road a little
Right,
bit.
right.
Well, and it's also heartbreaking to have to choose, because there's so
Yes,
many people.
there
That's
are.
true. Yeah.
But there are some really medically vulnerable folks who, I mean, maybe even should or could be in some sort of assisted living
Oh,
or,
absolutely.
I'm not sure nursing care from where I'm sitting, but like assisted living for sure.
Mhm.
And they either aren't far enough along in the system to make that happen, or there's no beds available for whatever's going on
Or
with
they're-
their particular situation, and that takes some concerted effort on their part, on the case manager's part, to make something like that.
Or they're refusing to go. 'cause
Or they're
they don't
refusing.
See that they need the care,
Right.
and that's a huge struggle, when we
Agreed.
know that they do. And we know that if they were out there alone, they would not make it, and I just, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been working with
Yeah.
a case manager that I work with. And it has just been sad.
Mhm.
You probably know who I'm talking
Not with that amount, but it's okay.
about.
Yeah, because there's a lot of.
Yes,
There's a lot.
yes.
And there was, one that I was, familiar with, luckily he's able to stay with his mom right now, but he would have been dead because he had a serious infection going on. He finally got it addressed, but when they went to discharge him, they thought he was gonna be able to come back to Welcome Center, and Welcome Center just couldn't do it, which is fine, no, they can't do it.
Yeah.
So they told him that, and the mom decided to take him, but my God, if he'd gone out there on his own, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
So
worried
much,
about
those of
issues.
us who have programming in
Yeah.
various ways, there's
Because-
just only so much.
He had to, like, in his case, he had a vacuum for his arm that sucks the infection out. You have to maintain that care. And it's just, that's where people
Yeah.
are really, that's where we're concerned.
Folks need either stable ground, or
Right.
they need electricity for something, or they need, or they need refrigeration for something.
And they need to be where, near their care.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They have to
What
have
about,
money.
wild idea, but what about sending his folks to a sanctioned city with, I don't know. A sanctioned camp, I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah.
sanctioned camping, I don't
But
know, I just
also-
think in my head.
Also with like medical side of things, I imagine most of their providers are around here.
Mhm.
Although, I'm not kidding.
No, you're not.
There-
I'm just beginning to wonder about, this whole thing. I'm sorry, I'm just, with you guys, with y'all, of course.
There's the new option in Montpelier, which is not an option for everybody, by the way. I completely understand it's not, but they've got housing at one of the old dorms up at Vermont College, and I think it was like $800 a month,
$500 and something dollars.
$5 something a month.
Yeah.
For a room, they're shared facilities, but it includes. And I think it includes internet, it includes like everything, and if you
Wow.
think about
Wow.
that. That is, I mean, there is a difference, you don't have your own bathroom, right? There is a difference between that and say a hotel room, but
Yeah.
I mean, if I were going to try to raise money to support somebody, that would be an ideal spot. It's cost effective. It's way less than a hotel.
Mhm.
Are there any services there or?
I don't believe so.
I think it's month to month.
Yeah.
There's two twin beds in the room. You have a mini fridge in your room. You can't cook in your room, but you can cook, but they have a full size, like,
Full kitchen.
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice kitchen. I looked at all the photos. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's a very nice dorm style building with maybe a bit more, like there's shower stalls instead
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
a piece of fabric, like maybe some of us experienced in college.
Yeah.
Or nothing. But I don't know if providers are able to go into that type of scenario.
Yeah.
They don't allow pets at all. I imagine service animals, they're gonna have a hard time saying no to that, but, the place is too dry. And you have very limited storage because it's just,
Yeah,
two
dorm room's
beds, so
pretty
they're for
small.
two people, but
Mm.
like. It's dorm size,
Yeah.
Yeah, they also want it to be, carless. Only
Oh,
bicycle.
because there's not very much
There's
parking
only
there.
like a
There's
couple
like-
spaces, yeah.
Yeah, there's very little
Yeah.
parking, because I
Yeah.
actually graduated from college there.
There you go.
And they're not that big of dorms either, guys, it's. Like, I got lucky when I was there, is I got my own private rooms, I don't know how I got that, but I got
Yeah.
it.
Oh, Princess
But I
Anne.
got lucky.
Oh.
And I even got luckier, cause I had the only shower
Oh.
on my side of the,
Nice.
like, so I was by myself and
Wow.
it was amazing, I
Were you
didn't have to
the
share with
RA?
nobody.
Were you the RA or something?
No, I think what happened is I had just had surgery,
Uh-huh.
and so I couldn't do stairs or,
Oh.
so they put me in and I just stayed there all
Yeah,
all
I
years
don't
there.
believe that building is accessible either.
Mm.
It's not,
They do have some first floor things,
They
but
do.
it's,
But
I don't
that's-
think the
that's-
building
that's-
itself is accessible, if
Yeah.
I'm recalling.
Who's running this? Like, you know,
It's been on Facebook,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah,
Yeah, I got an
and
ad
do they
for-
still
Yeah.
have capacity?
no idea.
oh,
Yeah.
I mean, you would presume they wouldn't keep advertising it if
Sure.
it was at capacity, but
Yeah.
they may have, based on what it is, more of a transient population, right,
Waiting
there,
list.
so they might be looking to have a wait list, but,
Right.
yeah, so, I mean, that could be, for some of these, for some folks, it could be potentially an option, you know, if you don't have I'm sure they do some sort of background checks or something, but if you know,
Circle back to camping supplies again, if some, I mean, I know we could do a call out on our Facebook page. Would it be going to Good Sam? Is there someplace else if people dropped off sleeping bags, tents and stuff?
So the only thing was, we've received an incredible, beautiful amount of supplies, which, we could definitely use more tents and sleeping bags
Yep.
and, blankets and tarps.
mhm.
But nothing else. Oh, and batteries.
I love it, but nothing.
Hey, my brain works better.
So tents, sleeping bags, blankets, tarps and batteries.
Yeah,
And batteries like the camp batteries, right?
double A and
Just
triple A.
double A, okay, the small ones, yep.
Yeah.
so it's Vermont, Montpelier, Vermont co-housing is what it's called.
Yeah.
Vermont, Montpelier.
Montpelier, Vermont co-housing,
Okay.
and it says on their Facebook page that they are 1/3 full.
Okay, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
You wanna do the same routine with dropping off? So,
I think I need to check in with my.
Yeah.
But if we gather supplies at the clinic and then you told me when and
Yeah,
where,
That's
you know,
fine.
yeah.
That sounds-
Hey, if you wanna do that.
So
Yeah.
okay, drop off at the clinic.
Yeah.
the person to contact for that is,
Careful what you wish for, Dan.
Mhm.
You might get a full
Uh,
truck.
Yeah.
the person to contact for that, Beth, is Rebecca Owens.
Oh, says how?
Facebook now.
Yeah,
There's another idea I had, I mean, with all these folks, I mean, some of these folks might be forced to camp outside for perhaps the
Right.
first time. And I'm wondering, is there a skills gap here that could potentially be addressed?
Yeah.
And like, can we find some like, they call them sourdoughs back in the Boy Scout manuals, the grizzled old, you know, guys who have camped for 50 years. Who know every trick in the book, you know? You know, how to start a fire, how to pitch a tent, where to pitch your tent, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything we could do around that, you
I
think?
wanted to
I
still
think-
share for so
I
long.
think,
Yeah.
I think that would be,
Yeah.
welcomed by at least one individual. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I wonder if maybe if I talk to I know some people at the state parks, I wonder if maybe they.
Hey.
Could use a park ranger for a day or something, you know, like to do.
Also has skills too.
Okay.
I was gonna say, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I was just camping Friday, so,
Heck, yeah.
yeah.
That actually could be something that would be, like, if we could get it together and we could say to folks, if you wanna learn more, come to this space at this time.
Yeah.
And we'll have a 2-hour conversation
Totally.
about how do we do these things
Or
and,
even just the individual hotels, because a lot of those folks are medically
yeah,
and don't have transportation.
yeah.
You can set up, I mean, with the right knowledge, you can set up stuff in urban space just as much as you can set it up with some trees.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking too that if we're gonna do this, just to add a piece about, sanitation, like really keep your space clean, you know. We'll always provide garbage bags, you know, and we'll figure out a way to get your garbage out, but please don't let your own
That's
space
still,
be harmful to you because it's not tidy and sanitary.
Right. There's the campground rule, that's what they call it, right?
well,
You leave
yeah,
it
it's all,
just as good as
but
you
it's
found it.
all good, you know, it's interesting that it looks simple to be able to do that, right? To me telling Elsa here, well, Elsa, I need you to do me a big solid, could you pick up after yourself?
Right.
And so Elsa says, this ain't my mess, dude,
Yeah.
I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
or
this is
even
the
just like,
kind
this
of-
is clean. What do you
But
mean?
This is my claim.
Yeah,
But
my
even
version
just-
of clean is not,
just
yeah.
including that and can't say that
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is part of the whole thing.
Right, and that can be done, no, it can be done, it's
Yeah.
just, that's the kind of, you know, cause I remember we used to say, well, I go in front of the council every once in a while and I have to defend your situation out here, so it'd be helpful if you could do me a solid
Yeah.
here and just, you know, but it's
Yeah.
hard.
No, it is hard, but it is,
But it's what
when,
gets,
when you're peacefully doing your own thing, but then somebody comes along and sees that, that's what they,
that's what they see.
that's what's more offensive to anybody.
They
than
don't
seeing tent
see-
Or seeing, it's seeing trash.
That's right, we
And-
agree with
and
you
no-
100%,
Turn you in, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Beth.
Yeah.
I did some more kind of looking for
Mhm.
that. So the people to contact for those dorm style places are Evermint Properties.
Oh, you mean Down Street isn't doing it? Not too bad.
No.
And
we
then
are
they
not
also
doing
have a
that.
place in Palace, it's a farmhouse too.
Oh,
They are renting out, yeah,
Oh my,
and it's available for like
curious.
6 individuals.
okay, we gotta ship them out of the
That's
house,
interesting.
Oh, wow.
that's what we do.
So
same thing, reach out. to
Kinda
them
like,
over
yeah,
Facebook.
yep. it's it's Vermont, it's Evermint Properties. I don't see where it's an application, but
From up the good Sam down. There you go.
Very interesting.
yeah.
Tess, do you know if any of our longtime campers might be willing to share?
Mhm. Yeah, Osa and I were just
Yeah, we were
doing
just
our little
thinking
side conversation
Yeah.
about that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
I think that would be ideal, and coming from a place of having a hotel right now, I could very easily go to the folks who are gonna be more immediately affected and say, would you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, would you want to have these conversations with someone who knows what they're talking about? 'Cause that's not me. I will try to source that for you, but that's not me.
Yeah.
I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, and we put together first aid kits, I'm gonna do some more, are they all done? Yeah, oh, they're all done, I gotta get those. That
Yeah.
second batch I got,
I have more supplies too and stuff.
okay,
Thanks.
yeah.
So on the Evermint webpage, you can submit your email and name and everything to get an application,
okay,
and they'll send you one.
okay, so that's a Facebook
But
page or a
it's
webpage?
really disappointing because
Mm.
it says 640 for a credit score.
Woo.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, I'm.
Okay, so no.
but at least it's not like what most places are asking, 700 or higher. I mean, they're a little, yeah. It's ridiculous, yeah.
It is ridiculous. And many of our folks don't even have, it's not that they have a bad credit score, they just have no credit
Yeah.
score.
Right.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
exactly-
operating within
Yep.
that
The
system.
lower part's good right now, okay.
Yeah, you know, and if we do these little informational sessions, maybe we could gather some equipment and take it along with us.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would want to too,
Yeah.
because.
Absolutely.
Just do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I mean, or as much as they can take in it's noticeable when people start
Being
fading.
overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
I mean, it's just as simple too, at least we don't always have tents, but you can do a lot with a tarp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can make a full four-sided, like. Tarp shanty with a tarp. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff,
Is there like a more efficient size or?
not 6x8 or 10x8. Anything
see,
larger than 10x8, yeah.
Yeah.
And silver and brown or camo and brown, not
Not
blue.
blue.
Okay,
No,
Oh,
the bright blue.
Yeah, blue
oh, I
is still
see it,
noticeable,
I see it,
yeah,
there's tarp out there.
Yeah.
When those
huge
drones,
tarp.
when those drones are going over.
I mean,
It's not just that,
Mhm.
someone's hiking through and they see that blue tarp.
it is
I-
really fast, yeah, you can definitely.
Hmm.
It's easier in the summer to conceal the blue tarps than it is to in the winter for, very obvious reasons.
I like the camo idea.
Yeah,
It's
and you
neat.
can get them on Amazon and some places locally. You can use the blue tarps, they come in and we still use them, but folks will use them on the bottom of
Mm.
underneath their
Yeah.
tent.
Mhm.
Um,
I've seen them lately where they're brown on one side, blue on the other.
Yeah,
Mm.
oh, really? Blind,
There you go.
Oh, that's cool, cool. Yeah,
So we just have 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
But what does, I mean, I guess I should ask, we should have pulled together, there must be people pulled together, but do people just, are they just leaving their rooms on the? I assume they're just leaving their rooms on the first. Or some sort of coordination, I hate to back it up a little.
I don't know, I don't think anybody's like really has a thought out plan about
But-
it yet.
while I have this 10 minutes, Montpelier is interested in, our side is interested in collaborating with y'all.
Yeah.
We have no idea, what's gonna happen to the, task force yet. But even if the task force gets swallowed out, we're interested in, still doing something.
yeah.
Well, that's great.
I had lunch with,
Tori.
Tori yesterday. And it was nice, I mean, she was just saying, what can I do that you're doing? And I just got the sense that it was still a very siloed situation between the churches and the library and law enforcement. I said, I think you reach out to everybody who touches a population that's vulnerable. And you listen to what it's like to be the librarian,
Right.
what it's like to be in law enforcement, what it's, and then how can we work together to make it so that we're all moving in the same direction, that we're helping each other, that we're cognizant when it gets to be too much for one or the other, like what are we,
Yeah.
but that was like one of the biggest things.
I think
that,
that's where we were starting to head, that-
Yeah,
And we have, we are in connection with the business association as well over there because. we
that's
have to-
great.
We have to have a chat with them, see what's going on. We see it on a daily basis out there, and I know y'all are experiencing it here in Barre. But I just saw someone get trespassed today in Montpelier from a frontage business,
Yeah.
where they have frontage.
Yeah.
And they were on city sidewalk, but they, so and I had to restrain myself from going over to the police station and talking to the cops about it. But I said, no,
Yeah.
let it be. Cause I might not know something that, there's two sides.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things
Right.
where you just say, okay, wait a minute. And it is interesting because it feels like, Tess, that we are getting, like I said today, our encampment policy is meaningless. If we're not doing anything, like camping isn't being allowed at all. That's what I've come out with. I've just come out, meat of the matter now. I'm not playing
Yeah.
around anymore. It's basically, okay,
Reading the tea leaves,
you
right?
gotta do it or not.
Mhm.
If you're not gonna do it, you need to say it.
Mhm.
Because you're not saying it. You're
Mhm.
saying encampment policy. But what's the point?
Mhm.
And so then you get, okay, that's a good idea. So we won't play with that right now till we figure that out, but I just wanted to say Montpelier would be interested in continuing to do any collaboration.
You mentioned that something might happen to the Montpelier Task Force.
What might happen, we don't know yet,
Mhm.
because what happened is, city council figured out they don't have enough resources to run 27 committees. They have 6 counselors and they have the staff for each one of these is
Yeah.
difficult. So there was a survey sent out and there was a bunch of other things and suddenly task force was put on the freeze for right now.
Okay.
But we might, merge with their housing committee. I have
Oh,
no idea
okay.
what that's gonna look like,
Mhm.
but. But we have also started talking about doing some sort of independent group thing, which would help us if we're up to it, cause saying you're an independent
Yeah.
body means you actually have to do the work and,
Mhm.
and so we said, the positive of an independent body is we could actually do certain things that we couldn't do right now.
You don't need permission to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I run the independent housing task force. I don't even know why we're calling it a task force. But that is independent and and it still is, like, we are still doing work for the city, but
Is that
Email.
this?
huh,
Wow.
no.
No, okay. So what is this? Because
This
someone
is- this
asked
is-
about
this is
that
the equivalent
today.
of your housing.
What's
task
that?
force.
Oh,
We're the Barre equivalent.
okay, you're the very equivalent of,
Appointed by the council.
Appointed by the council.
Rather
Which is
than not doing
different.
that.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
We just go by unhoused community.
I like it.
Which I found.
That's,
Cass, I fell off of the invite list for the Thursday luncheon thing too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know how, but I did,
You know why? I bet because
using my old email.
yes, but I thought I scrubbed that so that, or maybe I didn't put you on. I don't know.
Is there another one coming up?
I don't know.
I don't. I'm just trying to assimilate, just trying to, go through what the last one was, just that last Thursday,
Yeah.
and, we could do one in July, that would be the anniversary of our first one, would be July.
I remember the
But I've
first
been doing
one.
it kind of every other month, I think that's
Mhm.
what people can,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that way it's-
so it's just a decision whether it's gonna be July or August.
Melissa, do you remember when we were in city council? And the mayor asked for data on what people did after they had to do the hotels?
Slightly.
I'll send everybody. Is this something that we have?
Does that exist?
Like what happens to
What's
those
folks
folks?
do?
Has anybody ever collected that data at all?
Well, I mean.
I mean,
there's-
because people.
I don't know.
Not in a substantive way that could be super representative. I think
Yeah.
it's much,
Yeah.
in my mind, it's more anecdotal. It's like,
Yeah.
you happen to know where these 6 people go. I happen to know where these 20 went, 6, like, it's just random.
what do they do? What they have to do?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna,
Candy
I don't need
canes
data
and-
for that. but-
The only reason I'm asking, I
Yeah.
would love to put together an infographic and
Yeah.
go back to city council and just kind of continue our presence.
Mm.
Well, we can, yeah, and we can talk about some success stories.
Mhm.
That even if they're not
Mm.
permanently forever success stories, or success stories right now.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, what they do, because it's. And, we're wondering what they're gonna do, no, okay. Not really, I mean, I don't know, data wise, why, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
data?
I mean, sometimes that's the only way folks are able to see the thing, especially when they're
Exactly.
not looking. at
No,
it.
no, I
That's
get that, I mean,
Also, data can equal funding.
yes. I-
And so if
No, I
you're
got
able to
that.
paint the picture with data, funding
Yeah.
sometimes follows. Not
Yeah,
all
I'm
the
just trying to think about that Excel spreadsheet.
I see it as a pie chart, so.
time.
Yeah,
Big red area here,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Right,
And
so
also,
we have
like, what
2
time-
minutes
Well,
left,
yeah,
I think, right?
What time do
I
we
will
want
make a
something
motion
do
to
it?
adjourn.
Oh, yeah.
Second,
Okay.
Our next meeting, guys, is,
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
next meeting is July 16th at 5.
I'm just looking. I don't think I think I'm on vacation the next week. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, the vacation week after.
Okay, I'll be here.